Good evening to all of you, and welcome to this week's weekly market presentation. So, being the very first trading week of the year 2022, we will be looking at market updates, what happened during this trading week at Colombo Stock Exchange, and also key economic highlights. And of course, we will be looking at global commodity market and international financial markets as well. So, starting off, as you can see in the screen, the SPI altogether with S&P SL 20 managed to end up in green territory for all the 5 trading days. Actually, this noted to be a very fresh start, a best start for this year 2022. So looking at each of the days starting from Monday, SPI managed to close at 12,625.82 with points up by 399.81, along with S&P SL 20 index reaching to a level of 4,243.35 with points up by 110.10. So this particular gain in SPI is said to be the best ever gain that was recorded for the history in Colombo Stock Exchange, which was nearly 400 points. And this the turnover was also amounted to be a high level, comparatively higher from the last year's daily average turnover, which was amounted to be 9.6 billion. And this turnover was majorly led by bill, LOC, and also cooperative insurance. So foreign buying for the day was recorded to be an amount of 119 million, where foreign buying was topped in commercial bank, and also selling was amounted to be 106 million, where selling was topped at cooperative insurance. So local investors remain to be positive for this year as well, despite all the worries that are having around the economy. So this particular sentiment was continued in Tuesday as well. SPI reached to 12,800.54 with points up by 174.72, and also S&P SL 20 index altogether with that went to 4,377.06 with points up by 33.71. So continuing the bullish momentum that we could have observed for last couple of days, even continuing from the previous week, and coupled with that, the government's recent announcement on providing a relief package to community in order to support the prevailing economic crisis, we can think as a positive aspect for the safe increase recorded in SPI and S&P SL, both the indexes. So for the day, turnover was relatively high, which was amounted to be 10 billion. Actually, this was 1 month high. And when it comes to the foreign buying and selling was stopped, which was amounted to be 709 million, where only 113 million of foreign buying was recorded. So when it comes to Wednesday, SPI for the first time in history managed to surpass 13,000 benchmark level and closed at 13,076.91 with points gained by over 200, which is actually 276.37, and S&P SL 20 altogether with that up by 103.09 points to reach 4,480.15. The turnover was also a remarkable number, which was about 15.5 billion, and that particular turnover was majorly boosted by Brown's Investments acquisition of Sierra Cables and also AXA PLC. As of the transaction, Brown's Investment managed to acquire 29.5% of a stake from Sierra Cables at a value of 1,792 million, along with AXA PLC's 43.75% of voting shares and also 66.6% of non-voting shares at a total worth of 1,123 million. So that basically was the reason for this kind of that actually aided to report this kind of a higher turnover for the day. And also the share price of Expo Lanka recorded a gain of 14 rupees and 25 cents to close at 396 rupees and 50 cents. When we having a look at the foreign selling and buying, buying was relatively higher, which was amounted to be 295 million over 274 million of selling reported. And having a look at the Thursday, again, SPI managed to reach to 13 over 13,000 benchmark to close at 13,169.75, with points up by 92 along with S&P SL20. So S&P SL20 index managed to surpass the 4,500 benchmark. So when it comes to turnover, this was relatively lower compared to previous day, but still higher. That was amounted to be 9.4 billion. And Expo, LOFC and BIL continue to support the trading activities at CSE. And also BIL's acquisition of Agstar and Sierra Cables led the price increases for both of the stocks. So respectively, Agstar PLC stock gained up by 42.5%, whereas Sierra Cables stock gained up by 39.1% respectively. So for the last trading day of the week, Friday, the market closed where SPI managed to reach a new all-time high of 13,280.94, with points up by 111. And also the S&P SL20 index also reached to 4,554 with points up by 39. So turnover for the day recorded to be 11 billion, higher from the previous day's turnover. And the Kapruka made its debut trading today, where the closing price was amounted to be 22 rupees and 30 cents. 6 rupees and 90 cents was up from its previous offer price. So when we are having a look at the foreign purchases and sales, foreign sales were top of the day, which was amounted to be almost 1.2 billion, where only 165 million of foreign buying was reported. So altogether for the week, SPI increased by 5.19%, S&P SL20 index increased by 4.87%, and the net foreign outflows for the week stood at 1.68 billion. So thinking about the upcoming quarterly results release season, and continuing the assuming that the existing investor sentiment to continue in next week as well, we will expect to positively to burst remain to be bullish for the coming week as well. So looking at the economic update for this week, this was one of the major highlighted headlines during the entire week. CPC and LIOC Joint Venture initiated successfully. So the Trinco Petroleum Terminals Limited, a joint venture with the contribution of both the state-owned Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Lanka IOC PLC, was initiated last Thursday. And with the said agreement, 51% of the stake was held by CPC on the initially started company, and also the remaining 49% of the said joint venture will be held by LIOC. So this particular oil tanks in Trincomalee farm was previously held by LIOC. Out of the 99 tanks in the farm, only 15 were operated from the independence, and Sri Lankan Ceylon Petroleum Corporation said to be having financial difficulties to fully refurbish the said Trinco farm. That's what the reason they meant to be for entering this kind of agreement with LIOC. And with this joint venture, the newly established joint venture, the ownership will be divided into 3 major institutions, where the 24 of the existing oil tanks will held under the direct control of CPC, and 14 will be held by LIOC, and also the remaining 61 will held by the joint venture, the newly established company, Ceylon Petroleum, the Trinco Petroleum Terminals Limited. So, but this initiative was taken place amid allegations from different stakeholder parties, especially the trade unions. The Common Ceylon Petroleum Common Workers Union alleged the decision, mentioning that this will enable LIOC to create a monopoly in supplying oil, and also the entire benefit from the said joint venture will be flowed to India, not to CPC, and this will worsen the financial difficulties in Ceylon Petroleum Corporation further. And the new agreement will be expecting to present cabinet on 10th January, despite all the allegations that are ongoing with the said agreement made. And moving to the next one, Sri Lanka's crop exports said to be witnessed a significant growth during the year 2021 amid a lot of disruptions, especially caused from the fertilizer ban. So, as of the government, the entire crop exports was raised to 12 billion USD against 10 billion USD reported in the previous year, 2020. So, out of which coconut exports have risen to $900 million, where 1 billion USD was reported from the rubber exports, and also spices was amounted to be 500 US million, and that was denoted to be the highest figures reported the entire history. And as of the data available, the tea cultivation disturbed, however, with the prevailed fertilizer ban by the government, but they're expecting a good revival in the coming year 2022. And also coconut and allied products seems to be the major export crop from Sri Lanka because of the growing demand from international front, so that governments tend to make a lot of initiatives to further enhance coconut production. And also, other than that, total export of the merchandise exports said to be increased to 12 billion US dollars in the year 2021. And then looking at the treasury yields edged up for the week, and we could have seen a higher demand for 3 months treasury bills. So the 3-month treasury yield went up to 8.26% from 8.16%, 10 basis points higher, and 6-month treasury yield, however, declined by 3 basis points to 8.30% from 8.33% in the previous week, and 12-month treasury yield increased to 8.39% by 14 basis points from 8.24% in the previous week. So central bank managed to accept the entire lot offered, which was worth of 74.5 billion rupees. And looking at the exchange rates, rupee depreciated against US dollars, Great Britain pounds, EUR, but slightly appreciated over Japanese yen. And having a look at the global commodity markets, when it comes to this week, majority of the commodities was hit by Fed signals of increasing interest rates at least by 25 basis points, which is soon to be implemented than expected by investors. So, but however, oil prices edged up, heading for its best weekly gain since mid-December, which was actually supported by the worries amid the rising protest and the unrest in Kazakhstan. That was basically happened due to the state price caps on butane and propane were removed from the New Year Day. So that was basically the reason for the Kazakhstanian to do this kind of protest. And that has hampered the global oil supply, and investors seek that there would be a possible demand surge for oil in the future. And altogether with that, the political crisis in Libya was also continuing to deteriorate the oil supply and have a downside risk. And OPEC's output in December rose by 70,000 barrels per day, but that seems not to be enough to cater the surging of the global demand for oil. And the gold prices, altogether with the copper prices, resulted their worst weeks during this trading week. That was basically due to the said reason, the smoother and the firmer bond yields, and also the Fed is looking forward to go for a rate hike, which was soon to be implemented than the majority of the investors are expecting. And aluminium prices, but however, headed toward its best weekly performance in 2 months. That was basically due to the reason of surging power prices in Europe caused some of the production cuts in the Europe region. So then international financial markets way down over the same reason that I explained you previously. The Fed signals on increasing interest rates, and also this particular decision has caused majority of the markets to ended up lower during last two trading sessions. But however, Asian market shares actually acted on a mixed note. Some markets get impacted from the reason, whereas some of the markets recovered in the Friday session, despite the losses caused in the last trading day of Thursday, the previous day of Thursday. So higher yields hurt majority of the tech shares because the majority of the investors are tend to shift into bank sector shares over technology shares with with the expectation that the higher interest rate environment could survive the bank sector stocks. And yes, so that was basically from the international market front. And the major reason for this kind of a downside effect that we could have observed in the financial markets was resulting from the Fed's recent announcement. There are hints of increasing the interest rates in order to support the environment. Even the Fed is believing that there should be a monetary policy tightening, and increase of interest should be happen in order to ease the inflation figures, inflation numbers that was spreading around the country and across the globe. So that's basically from my end. From here onwards, Harin will continue the presentation.
Thank you, Sachini. So let's look at US oil again for this week, because as we can see and as we predicted, the price and the movement of US oil seems to be getting appreciated once again. So previous week we were able to see how the price made a retest on the daily support level, and how that previous daily resistance level has been broken out and made the retest and officially made that price zone, which is $74-76 per barrel, was initially made as a daily support level. So the price seems to be making its inclining momentum towards the daily resistance of 83-85 US dollars per barrel, and we will soon be able to see that to October 2021 October highs once again. So here we have a higher high formation, as we can see, and today we since it's Friday, we don't have much of a volume and momentum from the daily candle, but we will be able to expect some sort of a higher low formation, and then breaking the current high, which is actually 80.45, which is today's high. In the next week, we will be able to see it reaching the daily resistance 83-85, and moving averages and the RSI comes to a level of 64.3. It is in the mid range right now. And looking at the moving averages, of course, it's trading above the moving averages, and it indicates a bullish momentum from the moving averages. So therefore, we might be able to expect it soon to reach the daily resistance 83-85 per barrel. So looking at the all share index, so yet another week, the index managed to basically close above the daily support level 12,950, 13,000. So the previous resistance of daily resistance of 12,950, 13,000 has been broken out, and we had certain highs, and even today we were able to see it made a high of 13,315.54 and managed to close at 13,280.94. So the RSI comes to a level of 84.98 from the daily chart. So it is quite overbought, and it is quite high at the moment. But since it is about psychological area of 13,000, since the index is trading above the level of 13,000, we might be able to expect it reaching the daily resistance 13,450, 13,500 in the next week, or even if it gets declined from Monday, we might be able to see some sort of consolidation happening over the level of 13,000 and 13,500. Else a higher low formation back to the 13,000 level, or a direct increment towards the daily resistance 13,450, 13,500. The moving averages, of course, indicates a very high bullish momentum, and there's a strong gap between the moving averages and the index at the moment. So there could be some sort of a higher low formation, since all we can see is from basically looking at from 2021 December 30th, end of December, we had quite a bullish momentum, and so at that time the market was at the level of 12,000, and it managed to basically make certain highs and cross above the level of 13,000. So therefore we might be able to expect some sort of a high low formation in time soon, or probably consolidation in the area between 13,000 and 13,500. So looking at the top pick of the week again. So this week we are basically analyzing Melstar. So Melstar managed to break its previous weekly resistance 60.62 from the weekly chart, and previously it struggled over the level of 60.62, and it was trying its best to break that key level, and we had some sort of we believe ascending triangle formation where we had the top line as 60.62. So today, on basically this week, Melstar opened at 56.5 and managed to make a high of 66.7 and closed at 66.2. So even the next week, we might be able to see this bullish momentum continues, and the weekly resistance of 70.72 could be tested, and even if Melstar declines, we'll be able to see it coming towards the weekly support level 60.62 to make a higher low formation, and then after breaking the current high, which is 66.7, which is basically this week's high, we'll be able to expect it moving towards the weekly resistance 70.72. So there was a crossing over the moving averages. This crossing was basically this happened in somewhere around in July. So even at that time, the price was actually inclining and getting rejected over the weekly resistance, previous weekly resistance 60.62. And since now it has officially broken that level, and we will only be able to we can only be able to see a small some sort of a higher low formation at the moment at the weekly support level, and then the price could actually directly incline to the weekly resistance of 70.72. So the RSI comes to a level of 67.5. So it's quite in the mid-range still, and the moving averages, of course, it indicates a bullish momentum. So thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Good night.